If you won or lost this week, it doesn't matter. It's always important to be aggressive on the waiver wire earlier on in the year, especially if you're dealing with one of the injuries. Malik Neighbors, unfortunately, done for the year. Lamar Jackson is apparently hurt. There's a bunch of new injuries yet again. That's okay, because in this video, we are talking about the best players that you need to be picking up on the waiver wire before week 5 of fantasy football. And it is important to note, we're just not going to be talking about the regular waiver wire ads. We go a little bit off the grid. We go a little bit juicier, a little bit sneakier. And let's start with the number one claim of the week. I don't want to toot my own horn, but this guy has been on our waiver wire videos, our stash videos for weeks now. A couple of you have already told me that you picked him up last week. Kudos to you, but it's Woody Marks, who's looking like a league winner at this point, and he's going to be the Texans' workhorse back for the remainder of the season. Nick Chubb, unfortunately, looks like dust at this point. I don't think Joe Mixon is ever going to come back this year. I don't think the Texans think he's ever going to come back either. If he's on your bench, if he's stashed on your IR, I think you can drop him. Like, I really do. Woody, his usage continues to grow every single week, 58% of the snaps in week 4, and he took full advantage, looked really good, 17 carries, 69 yards, found the end zone, was involved in the passing game because we know that's his skill set coming out of college. He had 4 receptions, 50 yards, another touchdown, 27.9 fantasy points compared to Chubb, who had 13 carries for 47 scoreless yards. I would be very aggressive getting Woody on your team, whether you need a running back or not. He could be the next Bucky Irving. He could be a league winner potentially. So whether you need a running back or not, get this guy on your roster. And he has another really good matchup in week 5 against the Baltimore Ravens, whose defense looks really bad right now. They have a ton of injuries across that unit, and they're allowing the most yards and fantasy points to running backs this season. So I would be dumping a lot of fab on Marks. Don't be shy with it. Again, it's important to be aggressive with your fab earlier on in the year because you have that player for longer. I think Woody could be a dude this year, and I would be aggressive getting him on your roster. All right, moving on to our next guy, not to toot my own horn, but it's Kendre Miller, who was also on the stash video last week. He was in the honorable mention section, and he looked really good. He saw a season high in snaps and rush attempts in week 4, 11 carries, 65 yards, found the end zone, 5.9 yards per carry. The Saints are 0-4. They have a lost season at this point. They're going to trade away Alvin Kamara. Like, they're going to. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Kamara, 30 years old. Like, with the Saints playing for nothing, see what you can get for him. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs need a running back. It would not shock me if Kamara is a Chief by the end of the week, but who knows? I could be wrong. But it did almost feel like the Saints were testing out Kendre Miller to see if he could handle a full-time workload or to see what he's capable of, because he's been injured for most of his career. He's only been in the league for a couple of years, but it just really felt like they're really seeing like, all right, are we going to be okay if we trade away Kamara? And the answer is yes, because Kendre looked really good, like I mentioned, and he's a young player. He's only 23 years old. He's a prospect that I loved coming out of TCU, who in his final year in college racked up over 1,400 total yards and 17 touchdowns. And this is a big running back sitting at 6 feet tall, 220 pounds. He has a 3-down skill set. He can be a workhorse back. He's a strong receiving back as well. Like, this is a really special player who's been hampered by injuries. You haven't really been able to see what he's been capable of because every time he's been healthy, he got hurt like a game later. So I really like Miller as a talent, as a player. And if Alvin Kamara does get traded away, like, he could be another guy who could be a league winner at the running back position. I could be wrong about the Kamara trade, right? But I would be adding Miller on your bench regardless, if he gets traded or not. He wasn't traded in week 4, and look at the usage that Kendre saw. Yeah, it's not a great Saints offense, but a running back that is really talented, that's starting to see an uptick in volume. You want those guys on your bench. Don't go crazy with your fab, but I would want Kendre on my team if I could help it. All right, moving on to our next guy, Wan'Dale Robinson. Super unfortunate. Malik Neighbors, torn ACL. You hate to see it. I don't know if any pass catcher is going to be like that great from a fantasy perspective. Like, it's going to be Jackson Dart. It's going to be Cam Scadaboo, maybe some work from the tight ends, but who really knows? But we have to talk about Wan'Dale, who hasn't really done much this year outside of his blow-up game in week 2 against the Cowboys, where he had 8 receptions, 142 yards, touchdown, 28.2 fantasy points. Wan'Dale did see a 30% target share after Neighbors left the game in week 4, so he could be a volume-based wide receiver with upside. Like, he's still a young player. He's still a really talented player. He's the best receiver from a talent perspective that the Giants have on the roster. Like, he could blow up potentially. Jackson Dart is a good quarterback from what we've seen already, but he's not a guy that is going to be like a wide receiver 2 with upside this year, but he could definitely fill the void with all the buys that are coming. So don't go crazy with your fab here, but Wan'Dale does need to be added. All right, moving on to our next guy, Kenneth Gainwell. Warren ends up not playing, being inactive, and Gainwell balls out. 19 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.2 yards per carry, 6 receptions, 35 yards, 31.4 fantasy points. No one saw this coming, right? Like, what? I didn't know Gainwell had this in his bag, but he really impressed, and he earned it. 77% snap share, as we know the Steelers still hate Caleb Johnson after that special teams incident. 72% of the routes, 27% target share. Gainwell was very impressive in a full-time role, but the issue here is that the Steelers are on bye, and then that's giving time for Jaylen Warren to rest up. So there's a very good chance that Jaylen is back in week 6, and then it's a split backfield, or Warren just goes back to his workhorse role. I do think that Gainwell, after this performance, earned a bigger role in this offense, but we really don't know. So don't go crazy with their fab here again, because Warren could just very well take this role back, and then Gainwell is just kind of the change of pace guy. But really impressive performance. If Warren's knee injury lingers, or if he re-injures it, like, you need to add Gainwell, but don't go dropping all your fab on him, because it just may not continue, or it might. So just be conservative with your fab. But another guy that needs to be added, because we don't know how serious this knee injury is. Jaylen Warren tends to get hurt often over the last couple of years. Like, let's say he hurts it again and he's out for the year. Then you have like an RB2 on your hands in Gainwell the rest of the season. That's why you get these guys on your bench now and kind of take the wait and see approach. Moving on to our next guy, Tyjae Spears, another guy we talked about weeks ago that he should be on your bench, because you could just throw him on your IR spot and just kind of forget about it. But hopefully he's already on your team. But if not, I really like Spears, who showed his potential at the end of last year. From weeks 15 to 17, he was averaging 20 fantasy points per game, 16 opportunities per game, and he was the RB5 over that stretch. 60% snap share. Only Gibbs, JT, James Cook, and Bijan Robinson scored more fantasy points than Spears over that stretch. I really like Spears. I think he could be like a Chase Brown type of guy, where he doesn't play much at the beginning of the year, and then week 6, week 7 goes absolutely crazy, because he is a versatile back. Like, Tony Pollard is getting all the usage and doing like nothing with it. We know Tennessee needs a spark on offense desperately. Like, if Spears returns from injury and takes over this RB1 job, which is very possible, and turns into like Cam Ward's favorite target out of the backfield, because they don't have any receivers. Well, Alec Manor is good, but Calvin Ridley has been terrible. Spears could be insane for fantasy just because of his versatility on the ground and through the air. Remember, Tyjae is a very explosive, electric back, strong receiving back who earned 70 targets his rookie year. He's elite at making defenders miss. All he needs to do is stay healthy, and I think he is an extremely talented running back. This is another guy where we don't know how the backfield split's going to shake out. If this Tennessee Titans offense is terrible, then like it might not be a great environment for Spears, but anytime you can get a really talented running back for cheap right now, get him on your bench, stash him, and if Cam Ward eventually elevates this offense, Spears could have a really strong second half of the year. Moving on to our next guy, Romeo Doubs. I feel like Romeo does this every year, where he scores a bunch of touchdowns and then everyone adds him, and then he has 2 catches for 17 yards the following week. But we still do need to talk about it, because he pulled off the hat trick in overtime on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys, where it ended in a tie. Hated that, but what are you going to do? 6 receptions, 58 yards, 3 touchdowns, 29.8 fantasy points. Again, I'd love to tell you like Doubs is going to be a league winner the rest of the year, but this Packers wide receiver room, there's just so many layers to it. Christian Watson and Jaden Reed will eventually be back. We know Matthew Golden, the rookie's there, Dontavian Wicks. Like, it's just so unpredictable. Doubs is a good player on an elite Packers offense attached to a ascending superstar in Jordan Love. Like, you like all those things, but Doubs has never been a strong target earner. He usually has to get into the end zone for you to feel good about starting him. And on top of that, Green Bay has a bye in week 5. So like, he can't help you this week, which is an advantage if you do want to add Romeo. You might be able to get him on your roster for cheap, because a lot of people might see that he's on bye and then just bag adding him. But Dobbs is a guy, again, who maybe he does take over this wide receiver room and dominates the rest of the year. You don't know. So it's a speculative ad, betting on a good player, on a good offense. Like, don't go crazy with the fab. Don't chase the fantasy points. He's probably never going to have 3 touchdowns in a game again this year, but he is a nice player. He does need to be added. All right, next man up is Brashard Smith, the rookie running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, who has seen his role increase every single week, kind of giving me Woody Marks vibes a little bit. 26% snap share in week 4. If Kansas City doesn't trade for Alvin Kamara, which they might, but if they don't, they need to figure out the running back room because Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt stink. They stink. The Chiefs are too good of a football team to put up with these two guys who are super inefficient. They have no juice, like nothing. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs are a smart organization. They're going to move on, right? And I think the Chiefs could very well hand the keys over to Brashard Smith sooner rather than later. He's the only back with juice on this roster. He's an explosive weapon for the Chiefs that they need to utilize. He has very strong pass catching ability as he was a former receiver in college. Legit 4.3 speed. And in week 4, Kansas City, they already are starting to give him more opportunities. 4 carries for 9 yards. You don't love that, but 3 receptions for 27 yards, 4 targets, including a nice 17-yard reception. That's what you like to see. And he could very well be Andy Reid's next Jerick McKinnon, who, if that turned out to be the case, would hold a ton of value in PPR leagues if his role does grow. So I would be stashing the explosive rookie now. Get him on your team for cheap before he emerges, and then you have to dump all your fab to get him on your roster. Some other strong ads, maybe some sneakier ads. Let's talk about it. Darius Slayton, I wouldn't call this one sneaky, for the Giants receiver. He's going to be involved with Malik Neighbors gone. Alec Ayomanor has been on this list forever. He hasn't had that huge breakout that we've been hoping for, but still needs to be added. If you need a quarterback, Jackson Dart looked really good. Obviously, he's not throwing to Neighbors anymore, but his rushing ability should give him a nice floor. Chris Rodriguez flashed again for this Commanders backfield. It's kind of a 3-headed monster, kind of gross right now, but if one of the two guys gets hurt or Rodriguez just takes over, then you'll be happy that he's on your bench. I still have faith in Jaden Blue. Maybe this is one of the sneakier ones. People kind of forgot about him, but with Miles Sanders injured, we're talking about Blue, the rookie running back for the Cowboys. With Miles Sanders getting hurt, I think that Blue's probably going to be active this week. If he can get on the field and show Dallas what he's capable of, he could not necessarily take over Javonte, but he could be their pass down guy, and he could definitely have some blow up games. So Jaden Blue, really talented guy that if you have room, I would be stashing him on your bench. Xavier Scott, the running back for the Vikings, pass down back. As long as Aaron Jones is out, Scott will have a role. And then Rachaad White, probably roster, but if he's not, take a look because apparently Bucky Irving is dealing with an ankle injury. If he were to miss time, Rachaad would be a top 15 fantasy back until he returned. Justice Hill, the running back for the Baltimore Ravens, because they might be losing a lot of games this year with how bad that defense looks. And we know when they're down, when they're trailing, Derrick Henry's on the sideline. Hill's going to be heavily involved if they are throwing a ton. So he's a guy, a nice speculative ad. And then last guy on this list who I still love is Blake Corum. His role continues to grow while Kyren Williams still looks good. Blake Corum is just too talented. He's on too good of an offense. If Kyren Williams were to get hurt, Blake Corum would be a top 10 fantasy running back the rest of the way. That's a guy that I would want on my bench if I can help it. That's all I have for you guys today. Those are my waiver wire ads that I think are the best right now. Get these guys on your team. Improve your team. Let's keep stacking those W's. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.